Welcome back, everyone. I've been mulling over this topic for quite a while and trying to really get my head around it and to try and understand what the government have done. The topic I'm talking about is the open borders. And what I intend to show today is that they failed at their Dunkirk. That they left the drawbridge down and they invited the barbarians into our streets and into our homes and have locked us and imprisoned us. It sounds intense, but when you actually look and see at what the government have said on record, you'll quickly learn that they had no plan, that they hadn't listened to Operation Cygnus, and they failed miserably. Have a listen to what Barack Obama said in 2014.
We have to put in place an infrastructure, not just here at home, but globally, that allows us to see it quickly, isolate it quickly, respond to it quickly.
We then had Operation Cygnus in 2017, and nothing was learned, nothing was listened to. We had abject failure, yet we were gaslighted.
And the public can be assured that the whole of the UK is always well prepared for these types of outbreaks.
The UK, regardless of the position that we may be in now or commentary, has been an international exemplar in preparedness.
Now have a listen to Piers Morgan confront the Transport Secretary, Grant Shapps, on this very issue.
I spoke to a friend of mine, Alex Macheras, who comes on my show a lot. He's an aviation analyst last night, and said, what would you ask Grant Shapps? And he replied this: Grant Shapps has literally done the opposite of the world as Transport Secretary. He has done nothing. I would ask him what on earth he's been doing for the last 9 months. No airport testing, screening or measures since the pandemic began. None. No temperature checks, no health assessments, no flight restrictions throughout this entire pandemic. No measures to have air travel actually acknowledge we're in a pandemic. The lack of measures have contributed to the worst death toll in Europe, and he detailed what every other country.
There were no preparations put in place, and yet we keep being told that there were. This is a form of gaslighting. On the one hand, being told that they're fully prepared, and then on the other hand, finding out they did absolutely nothing. But we'll find out what the reason is. We'll listen to Grant Shapps now.
We didn't make any attempt to close the border or to test people or anything in that first phase whatsoever. In fact, we let 20 million people fly in, it is estimated, many from corona-ravaged countries like Italy, like New York in America, from China and so on, without any testing at all. I think we tested 240-odd people. This was clearly, looking back, you must acknowledge, utter lunacy, wasn't it?
So right at the beginning, I spoke to the chief medical officer and said, shall we shut the borders? To which he said, if you do, it will delay this whole thing by 3 to 5 days, but it's fundamentally already here. It will already spread domestically.
Now, the reason he says that, and that it'll spread, is because there's no contact trace system and no quarantine system has been put in place. And the analogy I'll make with this is that of a castle. Britain has the Channel, the North Sea, the Irish Sea. We have a giant moat that surrounds us. All we needed to do was raise up the drawbridge. And there's a chance that something could have still got through, but with a decent contact trace system and with a quarantine system, it would have been next to near impossible. But that's the problem. We don't have a contact trace system. We've got the tests, but we don't know how to implement it. And from what we're reading in the newspapers, we're finding that the Conservative government hand out contracts for all of this stuff privately. You might go, well, what's the problem giving it out to private companies? The problem is it's harder to coordinate, especially when compared to having a national health service that has all the medics in one place and it can be coordinated from top down. This, ladies and gentlemen, is their Dunkirk, and they completely fail, and I will explain why. So here's a history lesson. In Europe, World War II has broken out. Germany has punched a hole into France and split the British and French forces, forcing the British to the beach of Dunkirk. We need to get those men off the beaches to have an army to defend Britain. And the only way to do that is to use every ship available. And Churchill issues the orders to have every available boat ready to go at a moment's notice to be able to do this. And we clear those beaches of hundreds of thousands of men to give us an army to defend ourselves against a German invasion. With the virus, we didn't do that. We didn't get the NHS to galvanise itself and lead the charge. We quit, and we let it spread, and it followed a policy of herd immunity. We allowed Britain to burn, and the virus to come in. Then we're told the British government have done a fantastic job.
The UK has been an international exemplar in preparedness.
Have a listen to the vaccine minister's justification for this situation.
Acted very quickly when, for example, I'll give you a perfect example.
You left the borders open, which for a government which has built its entire reputation on controlling our borders is absolutely ridiculous. And just to answer the question, sorry, with respect, I'm giving you the answers to the questions you don't know the answers to, which might inform you better to make better decisions. The answer is, as Michael Gove didn't know and you don't know, the answer is we've given 14 fixed penalty notices issued at the border and 20 fixed penalty notices issued by the police. This is in response to 30, 40 million people who've flown into the country.
So to add to the borders being open, and we'll hear his response in a second, they're basically suggesting that you should go home and quarantine. Well, there's several problems with that. One, they're not providing transport. You go on public transport. We've even got accounts from people who came in through Wuhan who had to beg the government to put them into quarantine and not allow them to go on public transport. So you get in to the UK, you go through the airport. I myself went through. There were no announcements. I didn't see any posters. The security guards weren't keeping people separate. In fact, when I saw them, they were having a bit of a laugh and a giggle between themselves while people rushed to the conveyor belt to get all their baggage off. Then to get home, you've got to take public transport. You've got to go through London and then maybe even through Paddington. No wonder we're in a total mess. They've had nothing prepared for this scenario. So they gave up and they went with herd immunity. And if you're going to go, oh, well, where's the evidence of herd immunity? Here he is talking about it on This Morning, about how it needs to spread through the population and then they're going to bring in some lockdowns. Have a listen.
One of the theories is that, perhaps you could sort of take it on the chin, take it all in one go and allow the disease, as it were, to move through the population. Without really taking as many draconian measures, I think we need to strike a balance.
There you go. There's Boris's take on herd immunity. Let's listen to Zahaway.
The scientific evidence suggests that it's much better for us to focus on quarantining than it is to focus on...
We don't enforce the quarantine, as I've just established. We don't enforce it. We don't punish people who break it. We don't actually test anyone at airports, and we don't require any negative tests when they come in.
I think it's called shutting the door after the horse is
you
bolted.
might feel you're the...
I have no doubt in my mind, if these people had been in charge during Dunkirk, we would have lost those men. Because they would have gone, there's nothing we can do, we can't get them off. And that is why I made that comparison. Because someone like Churchill steps in and goes, no, we're going to do everything possible to get them off those beaches. So what are your thoughts? What are your questions? Do you agree this is their Dunkirk and they failed? Is it herd immunity that they've spread through? Was my clip correct in what I said about Johnson and what he was saying, letting it spread through the community, take it on the chin? And on that note, thanks for listening. Please press the subscribe button, the like button, and comment below. Bye for now.